Hi, Zoe Birch here, Feldenkrais practitioner for over 20 years. I am on a roll with some movements to help your low back. We'll do another little sequence here with some rounding and arching, super simple. You can do it in sitting, and this will also help reset the musculature of your spine. In another video, I was talking about how we overcontract in the low back, both when we round forwards and we contract the back to try to stop us from falling further over, and we contract the back when we try to sit up too straight because most of us think we're not really sitting unless we can feel some contraction holding us up. I'm here to tell you that's not necessary. You can find a balanced spine and easy upright posture. So we'll look at some moves that move your whole spine, all the vertebrae, and allow you to let go of some of that overcontraction. So for this, you'll need to be sitting on a chair, preferably reasonably firm-ish. You can do it probably at the edge of pretty much any chair, not the couch, not a bed. So I have my little stool here. It's my handy little Feldenkrais stool. You can use anything you like. And what you'll do is just sit at the edge so your thighs are mostly off the seating surface and your sit bones are more on. So for this move, what you'll do is just simply lean your elbows on your knees. And you'll be looking forwards. I'm looking toward the camera for the sake of the video here. And with your elbows just resting on your knees, right? Just leaning, elbows on your knees, and you're leaning, resting, letting the weight drop down. You simply round and arch. Right? So you round back, and then as you arch, you push your belly forwards and you feel the pressure on your thighs a little bit more. And you, of course, lift your head just enough to lengthen the spine. And I'm looking toward the camera again. You'll be looking forwards. And as you round, your eyes will look down toward the floor. So you actually use your eyes to help you make the shape in the spine. So you look down toward the floor as you round, and then you push the belly forwards, and you can feel the crease in your hip joints as you lift the chest. Just look up a little bit. It doesn't have to be strong or powerful. It's just enough to feel the vertebrae. And as you keep doing this movement, begin to think about the tippy top of your head and the back of your sit bones connecting. Like there's a little line along your whole self so that you include every part of yourself along that line. And just continue to make the movement a few times, rounding and arching. And feel at what place in your spine do you initiate the movement from? And most of us, have no awareness of where we move in our vertebrae at all. So you can even bring a hand back here and just like, oh, where is it? What part? Oh, there's a vertebrae. Look at that. You can actually feel the bones kind of going forwards and backwards, and decide for yourself on a spot in your spine and just move from that spot. So it's an attention that you're putting on yourself somewhere, and you just decide what that is. And imagine there's somebody who has a little finger behind you, kind of pushing that spot forwards, wherever it is, and then you can feel in your imagination that you could push back into that finger, the imaginary finger. You're going to be still leaning with your elbows on your knees. But with awareness of that spot, you become more cognizant of the shape you're making and how far you're moving. And just make this movement a few times. So you're rounding and arching. And again, you'll be looking forwards. Super simple. And now move the spot. Wherever you had it, move it up a couple vertebrae or down a couple vertebrae. And even if you're going to put your finger back there, oh, there's the spot, because we often have places in our back that are mysteries, right? We don't know what's going on. So go ahead and you can touch your spine, feel that, okay, I'm going to use that spot now. And then play a little bit with this rounding. Oh, now that I moved lower a couple vertebrae, I have a lot more tilt in the pelvis that I can tell. Oh, there it is. Just listening, making a few movements like that, and then you can move the spot you can see where we're going with this. You can move the spot a little bit up the spine, a couple vertebrae, in fact, above that spot. And again, play with moving from there. And once you've done a lot of those movements, however many you like, it could be 4 or 5, it could be 9 or 10, you'll arch your back and push your belly forwards and elongate your head in the same line as your spine. So it's not lifted up so much, but just in the line of the spine. And then detach your elbows from your knees and just sit up, straight up, and see how that is. And where do you find you're sitting on your sit bones? Is it in a little different spot? I'm a little further back than I was before. But it could be different for you. It could be different for you on different days. Just notice where you're sitting as you come up. And we're going to do a little variation on this move, which is a diagonal. So your right elbow will now rest on your left knee, and you can just drape your other arm on top, just let it hang. So I'm leaning on the left knee, right? I'm just my elbow more or less. It's not the exact tippy point of the elbow, but just kind of next to the elbow on your forearm there. And you just lean here, your other arm is just hanging out. So now you're on a diagonal, and you're gonna round and arch into a little bit more the left hip. You feel that? Oh, there's the left hip. So of course there's more load bearing on the left foot as I do this. The right leg is just hanging out. And of course you'll be looking down. Just want to make sure I'm only looking at the video because of this particular context. Normally you'd be looking down and then up a little bit. Same thing, but now the left hip has a little different crease in it. Little different invitation, right, to move the pelvis around the top of the left thigh bone, right, swiveling a little bit around that ball and socket joint. You might feel the left sit bone more on your chair than the right sit bone. So you do this archy thing and roundy thing. Make sure you're moving your whole spine, and you can go through finding different points in your spine to move from. Really kind of feeling the angle, each little direction and angle you can round and arch. It's actually really interesting to detect the variation in our own system. Every little thing. And then pause a moment when you've done a number of those. And again, that number is specific to you, how many you like to do. And then switch it. So now your left elbow is going to be on your right knee. Again, not the tip of the elbow, just somewhere on the arm. Let the right hand kind of hang out and begin to round and arch. And I'll turn a little bit because of my shape here. So you're going to round and arch toward the, oh, my right hip is really different. How do you feel for yourself? What's the difference? I did this much easier on the other side. This is a little foggy. The pelvis doesn't roll around the top of the right hip as much. And I know this about my right leg, that's a habit. But if I play with it for a minute and just play with the angles, oh, where is it easy? Where can I go? Then I learn something about the easy trajectory versus the hard trajectory. And by trajectory, I mean, where is it easy for me to really crease the hip? Because a certain direction and I run into a little bit of a stop. And another direction, it's really smooth and easy to really feel the pelvis rolling right over that right hip, the top of the right leg there. So you play with this in your own way, and then you come up and you sit upright again and just see how you are in sitting for a moment. I'm going to sit. Oh, wow, I do feel like my chest is up more. You can check in for yourself, the length of your belly. Do you feel like you're over your sit bones in a different way? You can always come back to the distributed position of your arms, right? So you're just resting both arms. And if I do a few movements now, it is way different because now we've looked at very specifically each hip in turn. Going back to both hips together, I have a lot more facility with the ability to move the pelvis around the hips. And we come back up, you sit for a moment, take a breath, and see how this is to sit now. The length of your front, the length of your back, that balance point where you're on your bones. You don't have to overcontract to hold yourself up. If you like these little videos, check out feldenkraistreasury.com with our hundreds of home programs that you can do with me, Zoe Birch. Thank you.